Hello, and welcome to the Hypnosis Explained series, where I, Glob Glob Hypno, explains to you the basics of hypnosis as I understand it. In this video, we will be covering what is trance, what is hypnotic suggestion, what are inductions, what are triggers, and what is subject agency. A few disclaimers. I am telling you things to my knowledge. I have been active in the hypnosis community since 2021, but I will be using my definitions and explanations to explain to you all of these aspects. The reason why I do this is because there is no institutional recognition for how hypnosis works from an accredited university. And while there may be certifications you could grab, they are not accredited by any state body, at least to my knowledge. So be mindful that I am working with my definitions that I have learned and developed within the community to best help you understand how all the magic happens. Firstly, there is trance. I like to divide hypnosis into two major aspects. The first being trance, the state of getting someone into a suggestible level of mind, and the second being hypnosis, the actual suggestion. For trance, it is that flow state. You've experienced trance many times, even if you haven't gone under hypnosis before. It's that state where you're reading a book, watching a movie, playing a game, and time just flies by. You're completely focused on whatever you're doing. The distractions of the outside world just seem to fade away. This is the state of road hypnosis, as some may describe. Driving down a straightaway, being focused while also completely and totally blank. This in its own doesn't mean that there's a suggestion that you're going to accept while doing these things, but is that state where you have truly locked in. But that brings us to the hypnosis part of everything. The hypnosis side is the suggestions we take. What separates us from flow state or even meditation, it is implanting a suggestion, something that can be temporary for only the length of the trance, or perhaps a time period, or something more permanent, with it being triggers. This is something that does need to be accepted by the mind, which will explain the scope of that later, but something that can be understood and internalized to truly understand and say, yes, this is a convincing suggestion, and I'm willing to have it inside of my mind. Inductions, that is the state that we use to enter trance, to be able to be brought down deeper or deeper, a shift in tone, a pocket watch, a repeating spiral or gift, that state that allows you to just relax and focus and lock in. Some people prefer long inductions of fractionization, seeking to be as deep as possible. Others, like myself, prefer shorter inductions, something to allow the mind to just hook into, be focused, and be prepared for the next steps. For me, I tend to keep my inductions shorter. If in a session I involve the subject by employing a variety of different ways to keep them involved, responding to my questions, being able to have an active countdown. But this is not necessary to do an induction on its own. One major misconception many tend to do when starting hypnosis is that you don't need to be perfectly still, you don't need to have a perfectly empty mind, only to be able to accept that level of focus on the hypnotist or hypnosis. For triggers, you can think of them as mental shortcuts. I can, for example, with a proper hypnotic induction, have you say, speak like an animal, be able to bark, meow, or make any other noise. Just do that for me. And many would. But if I wanted to make it a shortcut, I could say something like, speak. And whenever I say speak, those effects would happen. Additionally, I could add stipulations. I could say, when I, and only I, say speak, because you don't want your subjects listening to be barking, meowing when someone just so happens to say that word. You could also say what is safe and appropriate within your limits. Those are what's known as safeties, which we will explain a bit more in depth at another time. Triggers, if they're not being used, are likely to fade over time. This is why you might need to re-listen to a file to refresh the strength of a trigger. But with conditioning and regular use, they could strengthen. And lastly, one of my favorite aspects about triggers is that they can be used both within and outside of trance without needing to go through the entire induction. You can think of it as a save state if you're gaming inclined, or just a little mental shortcut that we are able to use in the mind. Or subject agency. There's a popular phrase, which is all hypnosis is self-hypnosis. And this is true in that the entire process of hypnosis is simply convincing the subject that what you have to say is true. That being said, that you don't have full agency when under hypnosis. It is possible to have someone do something that they wouldn't normally do, And the way I like to describe it is that your agency with hypnosis is similar to that of your agency while being inebriated. Just as someone who is intoxicated, you could convince them to do something that they wouldn't do sober. They might be a little bit more suggestible, more impulsive, more primal, instinct driven. You could do a similar thing with hypnosis. You combining this with triggers as well as something like conditioning could, with enough skill and malice, convince someone to do something that they really don't want to do. This is why hypnotic safeties is important for ethical hypnotists, and it's important to be able to believe safeties on your own. While listening to a file, such as my safeties file I have created, is useful in being able to improve your subject agency, they could still be overwritten with a sufficient enough trance. The way this could work is by having the listener say, "Well, you want to obey? Why, of course. And you trust me, don't you? Why, yes. Well, if you trust me, then you don't really need those safeties, do you? I suppose not." Things like that can lead to other outcomes happening. But it can also affect different people in different ways. Trance is a learned skill. Some people are naturally more suggestible, more open, more easily able to be tranced. But luckily, you can learn to be more trusting, more open, and the more that you try to open your mind, the more that you accept that it doesn't need to be a full Hollywood snap and you're gone completely mindless, the better and better you can get with being able to experience hypnosis. All of those things is what I would describe as being able to have subject agency. That ability to say yes and truly believe, as well as say, no, I am not going to do that. I hope that you found these explanations interesting. If there's enough of an interest, I will continue to make more of a series, with reaching 2.5 thousand subscribers being when I will release how I do my induction methods and try to teach you a little bit more about how that works. Thank you, everyone who has subscribed, to help push me over 1,000 subscribers. I have been brainstorming many file ideas that I look forward to sharing with you and being able to incorporate myself as part of your monthly routine. If you have any questions, please leave those in the comments below, as well as ideas of things you would like to see from me in the future. Please do check the Patreon if you are 18 or older and want to support me further. And again, thank you so much for being a part of my journey. Have a wonderful day, and goodbye.